Okay, good afternoon. It is 2 o'clock Eastern, and I'm not going to try and do the math for what time it is on the West Coast because it is the end of the year and the end of the fall semester for me, and I am tired. So I'm happy to see everyone here. And in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, Amen, we are glad to see everyone here. And I see that I have somehow managed to miss removing a note taker. I'm going to remove that AI tool from the meeting. And that attendee is now gone. So we're glad to see everybody here today. I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, and I hope that you are staying warm and healthy wherever you are. On behalf of the Archdiocese Parish Cybersecurity Subcommittee, we're glad to see everybody here for the fourth and final session on cybersecurity risk management for parish leadership. My name is Andy Green, and I am the chairman of the committee. And in our previous three sessions, we had scripted content that we wanted to go through, and we did that. And we thought that this month, what we would do, because we were getting a lot of questions during the meetings, the prior meetings, and also I was getting questions off meeting via email, and I just thought that it would be a good opportunity to basically make this just an extended Q&A session. And so for those of you who registered, I sent out a link to you via email earlier this week, giving you the opportunity to submit your cyber related questions to us using a Google form. And so we're going to go through that, and we'll also have the opportunity for you to turn your mics and your cameras on, and we'll entertain whatever cyber risk management questions you may have for us as well in real time, and we'll try and work through those as best we can. Before I go any further, I have to put out the standard disclaimer. I need to first of all thank my employer, Kennesaw State University here in Metro Atlanta, Georgia, because we're using our Microsoft Teams infrastructure here at the university. They graciously allow me to provide this as part of my service obligation for my career, and so they acknowledged me doing this as part of my service obligation to the community and beyond. But anything that we say or talk about here does not represent Kennesaw State University or the University System of Georgia. So I always have to get that disclaimer out before we get started with these things. So what I thought I would do is take a look at the questions that have been sent to us via the Google form, and I've got a couple here that I'll just work through here in sequence, and then after that we'll open the floor up and we'll take questions from the attendees. So the first question I've got is from Barbara Court, and I apologize if I'm butchering your last name. And Barbara is at St. John the Baptist Greek Orthodox Church, and her question is in reference to email servers. Did you migrate from another email server when you went to Google Workspace? And she asks because she relates a story that they encountered. It was a nightmare when they migrated from GoDaddy to their free. They chose the Microsoft solution for nonprofits, and it took them a month to get up and running, and it was a big handicap. And their parish priest, Father Matthew, would rather pay for emails than to go through that again. And Barbara shares that, frankly, she would want to go through the ordeal again. Migrating email is a pain that I think anybody who has been in IT in general has gone through at some point in time. Just out of curiosity, is there anybody here on this call, if you have gone through migrating emails from one server to another, use the raised hand function here within Microsoft Teams. Have any of you either indirectly or directly gone through an email migration, moving emails from one server to another? I know I have done it directly in my consulting career, and I have been the unwitting victim of organizations that have gone through it. So I see church office, so at least one other. Barbara, is that you? I think that's you, Barbara. Let me unmute you. I can allow your mic there. So Barbara, you're able to turn your mic on if that is you. Is that you? Maybe she's having a tough time turning her mic on. But in any event, migrating services of any type from one provider to another can be painful, can be difficult. And as a matter of fact, I will be going through a hardware upgrade at my parish, Holy Transfiguration in Marietta. What is today? Wednesday. Today's Wednesday, right? Tomorrow evening, starting at roughly 4 p.m., we are upgrading hardware across our church campus to upgrade our wired and wireless network. It can be painful, and so the solution to that is planning ahead of time and making sure that you have got everything mapped out to the extent that you can, and planning for all the contingencies that you can anticipate ahead of time, while understanding that it's almost impossible to plan for every possible contingency. Migrating email in particular, however, is one of those that we've got it down to a large extent. Um, oh, I see a comment here. Let me take a look at that real quick. So I guessed wrong. I'm sorry, Nikki. I just saw a church office and I made the assumption. I'm sorry. The church account is Nikki from St. Constantine and Helen in, uh, I'm going to butcher that. I'm going to try it anyway. Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. Was I close? Hopefully I was close. Um, but yes, migrating email in general is a mostly automated procedure at this point in time. Oh wow, I got lucky with the pronunciation. I'll take that and call it a win. But there are providers, and not to put some provider names on the spot. But there are some providers who are known for wanting to make it difficult for their customers to leave their environment and go to another provider. And I will simply leave my comments at that. And so when I see that you had problems leaving the GoDaddy environment and moving to Microsoft, I will simply say that I am not surprised and I'm sorry that you had that problem. Um, but in general, moving from environments that are straight traditional Microsoft to Google or Google to Microsoft typically are fairly simple and easy to handle. They can be time consuming, again, depending on the number of users and the volume of email that you have to transfer. You also have to take that into account as well. And so generally speaking, when you want to start looking at migrating from one provider to another, as a general rule, you want to look at doing something like that off hours, almost certainly on the weekend. You want to declare an email blackout window, if you will, where you let your users know ahead of time that we will be migrating on this date and time, from this date and time to this date and time. And you let your users know that email services will be unavailable to them as you look to move servers and migrating from one platform to another. Um, but tools are provided by the major players, Microsoft and Google primarily, um, where basically your IT administrator can map the current environment from one environment to a new environment in your new provider space with minimal muss and fuss. And it is, for the most part, I don't want to say it's just simply point and click, and then you just go out for a cup of coffee. Um, but it is almost that simple in every other domain except for the one that you were actually moving from in that situation. And again, I'm sorry that you had that problem. But unfortunately, I'm not surprised that you had that problem with that particular vendor. Hopefully that answered your question. Let me take a look at the next question. This is from Athena Sacco, and she did not mention which church she was with. So Athena manages her parish's website, but primarily handles content updates because the domain is controlled by the metropolis. The arrangement is creating two significant problems for them at the parish level. Uh, One, they cannot obtain domain email addresses for their priests and staff because they are not available through the current metropolis domain. It also prevents them from qualifying for nonprofit discounts like Google for Nonprofits because our domain is not a standard .org. Uh, while I know this may ultimately be a metropolis issue, I am hoping you may have some insight. Have you heard of any other parishes encountering this? And is there a common reason why a metropolis might not use a .org domain? The free metropolis domain saves us money up front, but I'm questioning if those savings outweigh the loss of discounts and the difficulty with email. Are we truly saving money in the long run? So while our focus here is primarily cyber and risk management, what I can tell you is that broadly speaking, um, depending on the services that you're looking to purchase, TechSoup, which you should have access to as a Greek Orthodox parish, all Greek Orthodox parishes should have access to under the Archdiocese license. You're covered uh, with the nonprofit status under that license. And so if you're looking to make any type of IT related purchase or license, software licensing agreement, my suggestion is to always go to TechSoup and make that purchase, if available, through that TechSoup setup. And if you don't have an account via on the TechSoup website, you can work through the Archdiocese to get access to have your parish set up as with an account on the TechSoup website. Um, Michael has dropped a link to TechSoup. Yes, I think. Let me click on that real quick. I think that Michael, does that take us to? Yeah. So Michael has dropped a link to provide you details about how to register for a TechSoup account. If you use that link that Michael just dropped in the chat, it will take you directly to how to set up a TechSoup account for your parish. So thank you, Michael, for dropping that. So those were the two questions that I had sent to us prior to the meeting. So um, what I'd like to do now, I'm going to close that tab so I don't get confused. What I'd like to do now is inside the Q&A tab, what I'd like for you to do now is if you've got a question you'd like for the committee to address, go ahead and create uh, your own post here and we'll take a look at them. And if we need to have a further discussion about what you've posted here, I can, bring you up on the virtual stage and enable your microphone. And we can have a bit of a conversation if we need to. So if you want to post a question here for us to answer, we can certainly look to do that for you. So I've got a new post already. Good. Stephen, I've turned your camera and mic on, or I've enabled it. You'll need to go hot.
Oh, there we go. So I just put a question out there to the group. I know that we've had 4 different sessions on a variety of topics, in terms of cybersecurity. What other topics that we haven't covered would this group like to address, or like us to address in the future?
It's an awfully quiet group. I think they're all on an extended Thanksgiving turkey coma break.
Did you unmute everyone?
Well, I've asked our friends to post questions. Would y'all prefer, if you prefer to just go Mike's hot, we can open it to a discussion. If you'd like to go Mike's hot, just raise your hand. Use the raised hand function. We've got a question here in the chat from Lewis. We are planning to centralize our password organizational control. What application is best? We recommend the use of 1Password, Lewis. We've had good success with that. I've actually implemented that at my parish, Holy Transfiguration. It's a solid, tried and true application, very flexible and easy to use and easy to roll out and implement across the board. So our recommendation is 1Password. We do not have it set up as an offering in TechSoup yet, but the best bang for your buck. The only password application that I can think of that has not had security breach issues to date is 1Password. So that's the recommendation that we put forward is 1Password. Lewis, I see your hand up. You want me to enable your mic? You want to have a further discussion about that? Okay, give me just a second. Okay, I've enabled your mic and your camera. You can turn both on.
Oh, thank you, Andy.
Yep.
The follow-up question that I have is, it is our intent, we have seven staff members, and then we have a computer that's open for general use for members of the congregation to go into the office and use. And with a unified password organizational structure, we would have some control, and I say some, depending on when somebody chooses to leave the church as a staff member, whether they leave on amicable terms or not. And then we would maintain access to that program, limited by the head of our security committee and perhaps our parish council president and the priest, those 3 individuals. Any thoughts on that application and structure in the way of managing that?
Well, first of all, I think good for you and for your parish for recognizing the risk there, because that's, our role at this point with this committee is to make sure that you're thinking about those risks. And so I'm really happy to hear that as a parish, you see that risk and you're taking steps to deal with it. it's always a concern when you have applications and accounts that are what we refer to as siloed, where there is one person who has access to the credentials to get access to, critical accounts, whether we're talking finance, whether we're talking, banking, whether we're talking, you know, uh, parish data, what have you, whatever the case may be. And a good first solution, a good first step to handle that is to take an inventory of all of those accounts where that is the case. And so we would always encourage you to make sure that you know kind of what's what in your environment in that regard, because until you have a good handle on where these assets, these pockets of data are and who's got access to them, you're kind of operationally blind. So, before you even start to look at what password management tool do I need to use, right? You want to make sure you understand, where do I need to look to apply this tool? So make sure you've got a handle on where this data resides. And then you start to ask yourself, who's got access to that data? And then you start to look at applying tools like your password manager. Does that flow make sense?
Oh, yes, it does. And in fact, we
Okay,
we are going through that process right
good.
now. You know, part of
That's
the part of the big picture view, if I may,
Yeah.
is also looking at document security. We
Yes.
have we have a Google
Mhm.
Drive for our parish council.
Yep.
We have a separate Google Drive for a Philiptos organization. We've got a separate email program that sends out mass emails and everything. And then, of course, Realm. And trying to put your arms around all of this and understand the implications of a rogue individual, for one thing, and also just being able to have backup access
Yeah.
is really why we're looking at all of this, because right now we are very much siloed, and it
Yeah.
is that big picture look that we're trying to solidify.
I am so happy to hear that you're
Yeah,
doing this,
very, very
because
good.
that is that is the heavy lifting.
Yeah,
Cybersecurity is not, it's not difficult, but it's not easy. And you are absolutely taking all of the right steps that you need to take, because once you have a handle on where your data is and where it resides and who has access to it, you've done 80% of the heavy lifting.
okay,
Because once you've got the handle on that, then you can start to figure out, okay, how do I control access to it, right? Where
Right.
is it? Who's got access to it? How do I control that access? That's really, it's, to speak in American football terms, that's the blocking and tackling.
right.
It's not, it's not sexy. It's not the flashy headlines of, I have all the blinky tools, I have all the AI, I have all the zero trust, right? To speak all of the current cybersecurity sales terms that we use. It's none of that, but it is absolutely literally the ball game in terms of,
Hmm.
how do you protect your assets? You know where your assets are, you know who's got access to them, and you're going to figure out how you control that and how you manage it. Because you're exactly right. People come, people go. And regardless of how they come and go, why they come and go, right? That's almost secondary. You know that they go, and regardless of why they go, you need to cut that access off,
Hmm.
right? You
Okay.
almost you remove motive from the need to cut the access off. You just know the office manager doesn't work here anymore.
Right.
Well, the office manager doesn't need to have access anymore. Doesn't matter if it was acrimonious. Doesn't matter if they had a distinguished 30-year career and we had a nice going away party for him or her. Doesn't matter. Their
Right.
last day was Friday. Their access is cut Friday afternoon at five
Friday was
o'clock.
the last day. That's right.
Right.
But we're
you
also
know.
looking at the document side of all of that, as I mentioned,
Yep.
and we're very blessed in that we have a SharePoint expert as
Uh-huh. Okay.
part of
Good,
our parish, and
Good.
we're looking to organize all of that using SharePoint.
good.
Yeah.
Is a very, very stable platform. Microsoft's done a very good job with that.
Yeah.
And do you have any thoughts there?
Keep doing what you're doing. You're exactly
Okay,
right. Whether,
okay,
um, personal preference, right, is for me personally, and I'm not speaking for the committee. I think that Microsoft is a more mature tool set overall as opposed to Google Drive in terms of service offerings and the ability to lock devices,
Right.
lock service offerings down at a more granular level. I just think it's
Mhm.
more robust and mature. There's nothing wrong with what Google offers. I just think that mainly because of the fact that most of us work with Microsoft in the workplace every day. And so in our 9 to 5 job, most of us are working with Google tools. And so we're also more comfortable with that on a daily basis. I know that here at Kennesaw State where I work, we're a 100% Microsoft shop. Like we've drunk the Kool-Aid. We have gone on board with everything Microsoft, everything, Copilot, you name it.
Right.
And OneDrive, SharePoint, we've got all the Microsoft tools. And so it's nothing for me, right, to work with Microsoft in my volunteer settings.
Right.
But yet at the same time, right, at Holy Transfiguration, the decision was made before I came on board that we've gone down the Google road.
Mm.
And that's fine, right? And so I work to support that because that decision was made and I'm not about to upend that, and we make that work. And so there's no right or wrong. But I think if y'all are committed to using and have the access to and the resources to use and support and maintain the Microsoft infrastructure to support your objectives there at the parish, I say go for it. Good for y'all. I'm
Yeah.
We
glad
were
to hear
we
that
were
y'all are doing that.
looking at the comparison of the two, and it's primarily the granularity issue
Yeah.
that you mentioned
Absolutely.
with Microsoft that is
Yeah.
very advantageous as
Yeah.
we look across the various structures of the church.
Yep.
And the problem with Google Drive is about a year ago we had a very serious breakdown in the security in Google Drive, and we lost a lot of our parish council records going
Oh.
back. And
Oh.
access was severely then limited, and now we're trying to recover from all of that. And rather than try to recover, it's best just to go to another platform and start from scratch, recover what we can recover, but not spend any time and money trying to
Correct.
get at that
Correct.
stuff. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay.
that's
SharePoint's a pretty viable platform. Obviously, a lot of industries use it.
Right.
We use it daily at the bank. I mean, that's our structured platform for document management and, release management and so on. So yeah, you're well down a very, very positive path. And I think going down the general path that you're walking is what happens if we have a major failure, which could be a security breach, a data breach, the building burns down, something that's a severe emergency. You need the ability to operate as though everything was normal. So it's what
Right.
we call business continuity planning. So you're well down a very, very positive path, Lewis.
right.
Appreciate it. Thank you both.
Yeah. Happy to hear that. Very happy to hear that. And that's one of the challenges, that we face as a committee is that we know that parishes are all along the continuum, right? There are some parishes that are further along the continuum like y'all are, and then there are some parishes who are just now starting to think about some of these challenges. And our challenge as the committee is how do we support you at whatever point you're at in this process, and how do we encourage you to start thinking about these things and moving along. And so we're looking to do that, however we can in the best way that we can. And so I love hearing that that's where y'all are. And for parishes who aren't there, we can help you get there. We want you to get there. We want you to understand that these challenges are there, but they're not insurmountable. And our role is this committee is to help provide you guidance and a roadmap and suggestions and support to the extent that we can to help you address these challenges local to your parish, because it's not a one size fits all solution, right? Lewis's parish has some technical resources. They've got parishioners in house who can do this kind of work for them, right? I can do this work for my parish, but not every parish has that kind of expertise. And so that's right. That's the challenge, is that not all parishes have this kind of access to expertise and volunteers who can do this work and put the time in to help get parishes moving along this risk management process for cyber. But every time I hear conversations like this happening, and every time that I hear parishes thinking along these lines and having these conversations, glory to God is all I can say. I say a lot more with my inside voice, but I say outside glory to God, because this means that we're moving along, and that's a good thing. So thank you, Lewis, and please let us know how we can help as a committee going forward. We're happy to help to the extent that we can. Stathy, I believe SharePoint can be backed up also. Yes, it can. Yes. What other questions do we have? Excited after hearing that. That's the kind of thing that excites me.
I see Sula typing, but I don't see.
Yes.
Oh, there it is. What is the
best software protection for what is the best software for cybersecurity protection overall? So Sula, that is a really broad question.
Mhm.
Let me find you. I'm gonna turn your mic and camera on. Let me find you. You're not on my first screen. There you are. I'm gonna turn your mic and camera. I'm gonna make it so that you can turn your mic and camera on. And so let's just have a conversation. I need to hear more about what it is you're really looking for here, because that's a really broad question, so broad that I'm afraid that we can't really answer it right now. So tell me more about what it is you're actually looking for, or you can type if you want to.
Sula, you have to unmute your mic. Oh, there she goes.
Oh, for antivirus. Okay. So for antivirus, it really depends on for payment processing. Okay, so we're kind of crossing the streams a little bit there. So let's take the first portion first. So antivirus in general. With the more recent versions, of Windows, Windows has a built-in antivirus package that is pretty solid by default. And so the nice thing about that is that it's tightly integrated with the operating system, such that it doesn't interfere as much as a third-party antivirus application would otherwise interfere with the basic operation of your computer. And what I mean by that is any antivirus application that's running is going to slow down your system, slow down your applications by its very existence, because of what it's tasked with doing and how it operates. And so it's just a necessary evil in today's environment. Any antivirus application is going to have a negative impact on the performance of your computing device, no matter what we're talking about. So the benefit of running and trusting and relying on the native application that Windows has built into its operating system as part of its core offering is that because it's tightly integrated, because it's built by Microsoft and tightly set with the operating system, it operates much more efficiently than something that you would go and buy, off the street, right? A third-party antivirus vendor. And that's not to say that those solutions are bad, but they're not designed to work as closely with the operating system as something that is built by the people who built the operating system, if that makes sense. And so on top of that, it may seem like a good idea also to run multiple antivirus applications. It may seem like a good idea. Well, if I run one, I'm going to be even more safe if I run two. That's actually untrue. And so you want to choose one solution and go with that. And so, because when you run multiple antivirus solutions, they may actually come into conflict with one another and actually cause you more problems than solving them. And so, A, choose one solution, and B, my recommendation is that you go with the native AV solution that comes with the newer versions that are built in, packaged with the Windows operating system. Rely on that. It will call out to the what I call the mothership and pull updates as needed automatically. It's something you don't even need to worry about. It does it all silently in the background so that you don't have to even worry about that. Pulls updates to look for the latest threats so that you're as protected as you can be. But no antivirus package is perfect. No antivirus package is going to keep you 100% protected. There's always going to be some risk because the bad guys are always writing new things, and the antivirus authors are always having to play catch up. In that once the latest thing is created and put out in the wild, the antivirus authors have to get hold of it and they have to study and analyze it, and then they have to put out an update and put it out to all of the systems across the planet. So there's always a lag time there. And so there's always a window between the bad guys putting out something new and the good guys releasing a patch or an update to catch it and protect systems. So there's always that lag time there that's that we're just never going to be able to address fully. And there's always going to be a little bit of risk there. To the second part, for payment systems, it is payment systems. We have to know more in particular, and this is one of the areas where we as a committee we have to kind of draw a line in terms of how much guidance we can actually provide, because payment systems and how they're implemented vary from parish to parish. And so depending on how you are taking payments within your environment at your local parish, you're going to have different varying requirements in terms of the PCI payment card industry requirements for network protection, network segmentation, things of that nature. Most parishes, or I'm not going to say most, I'm going to say a lot of parishes take all of the risk associated with managing credit card payments and credit card transactions, and they basically offboard that by contracting with a third-party vendor and using their systems and their networks. And so if you're familiar with third-party vendors like Clover, Stephen, help me, I'm drawing a blank right now. Square, Clover, what else?
Yeah.
There one or
Anyone
two.
that has a payment gateway. So if
Yeah.
Banco's another one. If they
Yeah.
had, some of the event registration systems will use a payment gateway where, people can submit payments for registrations or events or
Right.
so on. By using those, you're offloading the risk associated with a payment transaction.
Right.
It's on their network. It's not touching your network. So you're not responsible from a fraud perspective if something were to occur. It would
Right.
you're essentially mitigating the risk is the term.
Right. What you're doing is, when you don't have the actual credit card terminal that is swiping the
Correct.
card and reading the card directly, you are in effect saying, I'm running that credit card transaction through somebody else's network.
Right.
And when you do that, the responsibility of keeping that transaction encrypted and secured from end to end becomes the responsibility of that network owner,
Right.
that credit card processor.
Right.
And so that's why when you contract with them, you pay them a transaction fee, right? In effect, what you're saying is, I'm going to pay you, 2.5% plus, like, I don't know, 6 cents per transaction, whatever the terms are in your contract. And in exchange, I get to offload all this risk and all of the hassle that I would have to, as a local parish, go through to set up an entirely separate network dedicated only to running credit card transactions. And so that's the trade-off. And so when you do all of that, you don't really have to think all of that through, but that's really the trade-off that you're making, right? It seems like it's ease, and it is. It's a lot of ease because you can get a Square terminal and you can put it on your network, and you are good to go. You can Square and Clover will send you their terminals, and you can read that credit card, and it's encrypted from the moment it reads that transaction from their device. And even though it may ride your regular network on the church, Square, by providing you that terminal or that credit card reader, has said, we're taking responsibility for that.
Right.
And so they're encrypting it from end to end with that device. It goes to their network. Ultimately, they process it. It comes back. You get a confirmation. Everything is good. And for that, that's what you're paying, that 2.5, 3%, whatever the transaction rate is, plus 5 cents, right? Whatever the agreement is. And you, as a church, don't have to worry about creating an entirely separated segmented network. So when you look at handling credit card transactions, it all depends on what you're doing within your parish. Some parishes are still using the regular old, what I call old style, right, old guard credit card machines, believe it or not, and that's fine. They can still choose to do business that way. Y'all are at your parish, Stephen? Y'all are still doing that?
We still have, well, we use Square and Clover, but we still have a credit card machine that allows a parishioner to come into the church, make a payment, for if they want to pay their stewardship or whatever. We still have the flexibility. Now,
Okay.
I will say, and so what Andy's saying is very positive, that if you're going to use a payment processor or a payment gateway like Square, Clover, Banco, there's a laundry list of them. It's great that you can put those devices on your guest network and you're good to go. If you want to be more secure, then what Andy's saying is if you want to create a separate network strictly for those devices, you're even more secure, because that way that traffic is completely segmented off. What I have seen some parishes do, and it's not a great idea, and it's an old school process, is they get a credit card machine, if they're still using the old style credit card machines, and they hook that into a USB port into the main computer for the parish. And now, if someone is really creative and they can get to that machine, they can start running credit card charges and you'd never see it. So you got to be very careful on how you process stuff, make some sound decisions. I will say, if you are going to use a credit card machine just for convenience, and I speak from a bank perspective, you have to put it on a separate network. They won't certify the transactions going through if it's on just a traditional guest network.
Yeah, that's a requirement for PCI, the Payment Card Industry DSS Data Security Standard requirement. You have to do that. And that goes back to the beauty and ease of when you outsource this management to the third-party vendors like Square and Clover. That problem goes away completely. When you choose to keep the traditional credit card machine in-house, you have to go through an annual audit, a self-attestation audit, where you have to build that separate network segment out completely. and maintain it. And all that can sit on that network segment is that credit card machine. It's a lot of overhead. It's a lot of effort. And, you know, again, it's not right or wrong. It's just, what decisions do you choose to make as a parish? Why do you do it? Does it make sense for you? And if you choose to go that road, then you have to make sure that you support it appropriately, because that is a requirement, and you have to take those steps to do that. So, you know, back to Sula's original question of antivirus, when you maintain a separate network segment because you run a traditional credit card reader as opposed to outsourcing, yes, PCI DSS does require the presence of an antivirus solution on all systems on that network segment. And so you will have to attest that all systems on that network segment that are touching that credit card machine have antivirus present on the system. So you will have to attest that there is an antivirus solution in place. Again, that comes back to the question of which one do you use. I go back to my original recommendation of, if you're a Windows shop, you're going to go with the native Windows antivirus solution that's built into the package. Let's see. And then for hacking into your system.
Oh, that one's easy. That one's easy.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't let other people hit that machine.
What?
It's real easy. It's
okay.
90% of the problems with cybersecurity are human involvement. So if you have an office computer and you're obviously using credentials to log into that computer, don't give the credentials out. And don't allow anyone else other than, say, an IT administrator to have the ability to log into that machine. That's the first guard of protection. The second one is make sure you have, as Andy's saying, security protection software, including a firewall, so that you're not open out to the internet.
Yep. John Lowen, I'm kind of late to these videos, but have you addressed training? Yes, we have addressed training in prior videos. With this being the last in the series, John, we've recorded all the prior videos. I'm going to be turning all the videos over to the Archdiocese. They're going to get them staged, I believe, in the YouTube channel. I'm going to make these available to them, and I'll be pushing an announcement out to all of the attendees for all of the meetings and giving them links to the YouTube videos once the Archdiocese has them posted. So be on the lookout for that once I get those to the Archdiocese and they get those staged in their YouTube channel. So yes, they will have those. Staffy is fingers typing on keyboards. I would also add to not click on any suspicious links. So that, it sounds good on the surface. And I will say this, and I would, today is what, Wednesday. So Monday, I am eating lunch and I am checking email on my phone. And I got an email that looked like it came from the Social Security Administration that said it was my, we get these annual emails that give us our access to our annual statement of what we will get in retirement. And I will tell you that email looked authentic. I will tell you that email smelled authentic. I will tell you, as I was eating my sandwich and drinking my Coke Zero and thinking about 12 other things, it passed my filters. I will tell you that I clicked on the link to take me to check out my annual report. on my mobile device. And then things started spinning, and I got a message that said, this link only works on your desktop device. And that's when I knew that I had gotten lucky and dodged a bullet, because that report is viewable on any device. And being able to log into the Social Security Administration website is universal. I should be able to log into that on any website. I bid on a fish not 48 hours ago.
It happens.
And I got lucky.
You did.
Because it wanted me to open it on a desktop. So, you know, we can offer the guidance to not click on suspicious links. Unfortunately, what we're finding is that threat actors are utilizing AI to build really, really good fishes. Really good. Gone are the days where you could rely on the easy visual tells of poor grammar, you know, badly written sentences, things of that nature, the obvious visual cues to rely on the hints to tell you that this is a fish. Threat actors are using these tools to write really strong fishes, and the hooks are getting better. I'd like to think that I probably would have figured out in short order, even on a desktop, by looking at the URL in the web browser, that that's not the website. That's not the Social Security website. What's going on? Right? Maybe. But the fact that it bombed out because it whatever was happening did not like the fact it was happening on a mobile device, and so it kind of self-destructed on its own. I got lucky. And so we always need to be vigilant. And once I actually started paying attention, right, the header, the from address showed that it was from the Social Security Administration. But once I clicked on it, it came from a Brazilian email address. Right now, it didn't display. Right, when our emails come in, it doesn't always display the email address that it's coming from automatically. I had to dig in and click on a thing to view the email address. But that was the dead giveaway right there. If I had seen the email address instantaneously, I would have realized, nah, it's a fish, and I would have dumped it right then and there. But because the email address didn't display in my Outlook client on my phone automatically, and I had to touch it on my screen to expand it to show the email address, I missed it. And because it was a really well-written fish, grammar was perfect, spot on, said everything that I would expect that annual email from the Social Security Administration to say, right? And then on top of that, I failed to notice that it went not to my home address, which is where I've got Social Security emails going, but it went to my work address. Another dead giveaway in my instance. Context was wrong. Right? My email client just showed to you, and that's all Outlook puts in the to is just you. But which you, right? Because I have 7 email addresses, and they're all you, right? So there's my work you, there's my church you, there's my personal email address you, there are my volunteer email address yous, right? I've got all of these yous, and Outlook just simply shows you. Well, if I had seen that email was sent not to my personal you, but my work you, there's another clue that I would have picked up on. Didn't see any of that just because of the way the interface interacts with me on a phone. So, they're getting clever. They're relying on things. 48 hours ago, I don't know where that would have ended up if I had put it up on a laptop.
Well,
So
that's why John's comment here, how about running phishing tests?
yeah,
At the bank, we run them randomly. Everyone will get one in the bank, probably once a week. And if you fail, guess what? You go back through compliance training. If you have the ability to do it, go for it.
well, John, I will offer. That was Stephen's personal opinion, and Stephen works in a highly regulated industry. Stephen works in the banking industry. So Stephen likes to regulate all of the things all of the time because that poor guy gets regulated every day, every how.
Yep.
He does.
Yep.
So he sees that. He sees regulation every day, every how, everywhere. What I will tell you is that
east side of the state around I-70, we got a couple of inches, and then we got some rain and beat it down, and then we end up
So,
getting
Stephen,
another
is that you?
5 inches on top of.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Andy, I got to leave for a meeting. I'll let you
Yeah.
go.
Okay. So, John, what I will tell you is that there's academic literature studies that show diminishing returns on phishing on phishing. I'm going to call internal phishing attacks, where phishing campaigns that organizations run on their own workers don't over the long term achieve the goals that we're looking to achieve, and they're not cost effective. They do pick up the worst of the worst in terms of stragglers who just click on anything. But studies have shown time after time that what they do create in the workforce over time is people who will basically throw anything and everything over the wall to their IT and security staff to say, this looks suspicious. And they end up drowning and overloading their IT and security staff with otherwise legitimate emails that the IT and security staff either have to vet or filter through and make a determination on and say, nope, this is fine, and then throw it back to the worker to process. And so I used to be a believer years ago in phishing campaigns. I thought naively that, yeah, this is the way to go. What we have found out through data analysis and multiple studies over the years is that they don't really have the impact that we thought that they would. So take that for what it's worth. Now, that all that being said, we run them. We don't run them nearly as often as Steven sees them. You know, again, highly regulated industry, banking. They're mandated to do that kind of thing. The University System of Georgia specifically has mandated phishing tests against all university system employees on a regular, ongoing basis. So I see them all the time here. And it's now kind of become a running joke. I will just personally send them to our campus chief information security officer. He's a friend of mine. And I'll just personally forward them to him and say, here's another one. Thank you. Because it's a running joke between the two of us. But the concept is a laudable one, but in reality, we're seeing that it's probably not the best course of action long term for organizations. One last question, and then we are up against the 3 o'clock. I recently saw somewhere that it is a good idea to have different personal email accounts for different things, one for your bank's financials, one for government, one for signing up to websites, etc. This seems like a great idea. Your thoughts? What I will say is it sounds like a lot of extra work. I understand the underlying notion, which is you want to try and keep things separate because you're worried about one email address getting compromised in different areas. My recommendation is to basically invert that. What I would say is that for those of you who are using the same password across multiple accounts, and I know some of you are, I'm going to get very close to the camera now. Some of you are, I know that you are, because it's easy and it's human nature. break that habit. Okay, what I would say is the big problem that we have is that password reuse is our biggest problem, and then lack of multi-factor authentication. And so if you will do two things, you will be more highly protected than 98% of the public if you will do two things. One, if you will use a unique password on every account. And then two, in every place possible, enable multi-factor authentication. You're going to be better off than 98% of the world. Those two things alone, study after study has shown, will help protect your accounts time after time. And for those of you, Lewis, this is for you specifically, multi-factor authentication, if you're worried about how do we implement multi-factor authentication on church accounts and shared accounts, where you're keeping shared credentials in a password manager, 1Password manages multi-factor authentication on accounts as well. So for those of you who are thinking about password managers, 1Password is a good personal solution as well. I use it on the personal basis, and it handles multi-factor authentication as well. And so in situations where, as a church, if you've got a shared account where multiple people need to have access to a singular account, you can implement multi-factor on that, and all the people who have access to that shared account credentials will have access to that same shared multi-factor token, which is a good way to go, and it will be very beneficial to you to roll that in. But yeah, church office, I'm sorry, I've forgotten who you are already. I know you told me. Don't reuse passwords. Unique password for every account that you have. Use the same email account. It's okay. And then implement multi-factor authentication anywhere and everywhere possible. Okay, and with that, it is 3 o'clock. Actually, it's a little over 3, depending on which clock I look at. I want to thank all of you for attending today. I want to wish you all the very best Christmas and New Year. Please feel free to reach out to us if we can be of assistance with anything else. Thank you and have a good day.